I didn't know mine were brown.
Now your mother is.
My mother is so
Bitter.
Where?
Right. It's just
Okay, now was Sophie.
daughter's daughter.
what I do.
Was Sophie and Becky.
Right.
Basically, one generation.
I was with IBM.
Max's daughter.
So you're
I'm a
mine
couple
and
.com making money.
but you're a generation younger than me. Because
What
I'm
happened? You got bit by Ditto or something? Just now?
you know what? I get Blanshaft. See, I can trace myself down from the Skolsky.
Yeah, what is that?
All right.
Vantage places, go2.com and those things.
That's what I call it.
Okay, search engines that are really added.
Mother, whatever.
Hi, sis. Very good. All right.
Been up a long time.
Judith, can you hear that?
Yeah, baby. That's what to do with it.
We've been doing that night after night.
I knew that was coming.
Thanks.
I'm a generation ahead. Mistress.
She's on the same level as my mother.
No, I'm a generation ahead of No, my mother.
Are you filming the fact that this line isn't moving?
Yeah, that's what I was just doing.
Come back and check with us in a few hours.
I feel like an immigrant.
And a rest home. So wait a minute. What?
Hi.
Oh, my mother. When before she got married.
At that time, yeah, there were times. Before she was trying to do it now.
I found for Blanshaft saving somebody's life.
Oh, yeah? Well, of course, there's the canals. The government sent a lot of people for disease control down there.
I talked to Benjamin's son. Benjamin was the prize fighter, right?
Yes, we know about that one. Yeah.
Now Benjamin's
Actually, my dad has some of our posters.
son does.
Yes. He knew of us. He was a fight fan. So.
Is what we like?
We really should publish on CD.
Well, I keep it.
Yeah, we can do CD for you.
So you get them both and everything here. That's
Hey, Opie.
He's my next door
You know
neighbor.
what? True story. What's Ron Howard? He's trying to buy this little tiny town.
What's up? Oh, hell, that's a bunch of them. How can they have done
Otis. I said Hold still.
Was it Otis? Didn't he run the...
Otis was a drunk.
Otis was the.
how everybody is linked here, and how two people were able to produce that portion of our tree, that one branch, the many branches that Brad and I are working on. But again, we're so pleased you all were able to make it, and the cooperation and the enthusiasm we got from everybody we spoke to. Everyone. It's just absolutely amazing. And I'm a guy who grew up with almost no family, so I thought just a couple people. We didn't have one love. But I won't ramble anymore, and that's what it is. Brad Gordon, my cousin, great guy. Thank you.
I can't believe I'm saying this, because a lot of the time Alan and I have just been sitting there on the computer and exchanging emails, and a lot of times we didn't believe that these people actually were real. And to see everybody come together like this is just amazing. I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about what we're going to do today. First of all, we're just going to have lunch. And then after lunch, Alan and I are going to talk some more about the process of finding people and a little bit about the family history. I'll tell you about how a lot of people thought that this was a sham. And somebody called Harvard Law School to make sure that I graduated. But nobody hung up. I also wanted to give you just a very brief overview right now about the family tree. Because I know it's rather confusing, and you can see it goes on for pages and pages, and I think in the sixth generation we're looking at maybe 60 or 70 kids that we know of. The farthest that we've gone back so far is to the matriarch of the family, and thanks to Molly Clark, we know that she was referred to as Mama Shay, which I'm probably mispronouncing. But we think her name was either Sophie or Shirley. Sophie. Okay, so as I go, people can stand up and just throw eggs at me or correct me and tell me that I've got it wrong. So Sophie Postbury. She was probably born, I think maybe back in the 1850s, 1860s. We know that she died in 1916. And her husband was Carl Blanshaft. Now they had, I understand, maybe 12 kids altogether. And I think today at this reunion we have branches of 4 of those kids here. Now the children that I know of, there was Alex Blanshaft, who was married to Ida Honingstock, I think, that we've got another maiden name floating out there. Lots and lots of relatives are here today from Alex and Ida's branch. And I think after lunch we'll have the various branches stand up. Alex had a brother, Muddle, also known as Max Blanshaft, who I'm just thrilled to learn more and more about how much he did for the family and how many people he brought over before the war. And then there was a sister, Bela, who was my great-grandmother, Bela Blanshaft, who was married to Shulam Skorka. Max was married to Lena Gibbons. Then there was another Blanshaft sister named Pearl. Pearl Blanshaft was married to Stroika Karp, or Silka Karp. And there was another brother, Morris Blanshaft. Morris Blanshaft was married to Rebecca Hershkowitz. And we have Morris Blanshaft's daughter here today, Femi Stupnik, who is the oldest living relative here in the room, one of the most honored guests. She's sitting over the table over there. The last sibling that I think might be a Blanshaft, but people are now correcting me and saying that she might have been a Skorka, and her name was Gitto. She married into the Jablotowski family. Now the Jablotowski family has caused tons of confusion because they actually changed their names several times in the family branch. There was Ben Jebi, the prize fighter, back in the 30s. So a couple relatives in that branch have changed their name to Jebi. And then there was one of Gitto's sons, Izzy, or Isidore, who changed his name to Zeeble. So there's a bunch of Zeebles in that branch. But maybe somebody later on today can correct me and let me know exactly which side of the family tree they sit at. I think that's it for now. We'll just move on to lunch. But thank you again. Excuse me. Hi. Just one more members of the family are going to come up and talk about the different branches. We do have a copy of the family tree. We have 30 copies that we'll hand out later. And we did put together a booklet which has a lot of essays and excerpts from emails and a copy of the family tree to give you some more background on the family. This is Max and Lena Blanshaft's granddaughter, Molly Clark. She just wanted to come up and say a Hebrew prayer. So, please.
I thought it would be appropriate if we said the Shehekianu. Would you join me in saying it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehekianu v'kiyamanu v'hikianu l'zman hazeh. And the translation: Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sustains us in life and who has brought us to this moment.
a wedding with,
I got her mixed up.
I wear the glasses too.
Yeah, I can drive without them, but I wear them because I feel more at ease. I remember you had on me because it was your sister, Ezra. I'm impressed.
A lot of these pictures came from you.
No, just if.
Oh, well.
When they got older, they didn't look like that. Great. They're great. Very nice.
Great. These guys should be proud of themselves.
They did a beautiful job. Year of what? 26th day of December.
I asked Dana, what's your mommy's name? And she said, Mommy. Jackie. Is it you?
Yeah.
Okay, Jackie. I know, because...
Who are all these people anyway?
Oh, they've got names.
Wow, there's Frank and me.
Yeah, there it is.
We were just kids.
Were you married yet?
Neat hairstyle.
That name, you never see it anywhere. You're working, you see everything.
Who's that?
What? Oh, Dad? Oh, you're showing him?
Yeah. This is one of my little grandsons.
My dad, Sam's little son.
Yeah, we'll have to get together. Not quite. Right, we found two old men on that way.
This one
No, no, no. No, you're not at all.
great pictures.
Brad's going to go in a little, do some explaining of how we began our trek, a little bit more about the family history. Then we're gonna have Caleb's going to come up and tell a couple stories about his great-grandparents and grandparents. So again, here's Brad. It's all yours. Good show.
By saying thank you to a couple of special people who really helped out a lot. First of all, Alan Skolsky. There's no way that this would have happened if we hadn't collaborated on this. And he was always one of my favorite cousins when I was growing up, but we definitely have grown much closer because of this whole project. I want to thank my parents, Bob and Brent Gordon, who are sitting over there. Chose the restaurant, did a lot of scouting for us, helped us out. My dad spent a lot of time on the name tags. And I must have called them pretty much every day from Hong Kong for the last 2-3 months in order to get this thing together. And I gotta thank my wife, Ratana, sitting over there. And Alan's wife, Linda. because our wives have shown incredible tolerance and lots of interest in this endeavor. I think I dragged Ratana to Jewish museums and Jewish centers all over Europe. We went to Warsaw a couple years ago. She sat there all day with me at the Jewish Historical Institute in Warsaw as we talked to the archivist, trying to dig up some more information with the Skorkas and the Blanshafts. So, what do you think about that? She has 11 brothers and sisters. And I'm always teasing her that we're going to start on her family tree next. I gotta thank Charlotte Elk, sitting over there at that table. Because I don't think there'd be any way for me to find all of you and bring you here today if it wasn't for her. We spent quite a lot of time going back and forth, and she's like my muse. She had fragments of memory. She remembered names and some stories. And slowly we've been piecing it together. But she's been a tremendous help. Another person is Sam Skolsky, who couldn't make it today. He lives in New Jersey. And I'll talk a little bit more about the history of how this thing got off the ground. But he also had a gleam in his eye when I went to see him. And he said, you're Sam Skolsky's grandson. He started telling me a bunch of stories, which also led me to find Charlotte. I want to thank my aunt and uncle, Uncle Eddie and Aunt Marilyn. I don't think, when I was 13 years old, I went to Detroit. I grew up in Connecticut, not really knowing that much about my family at all. I went to Detroit, and I sat down with my grandpa and grandma. And I said to them, can you tell me the names of your brothers and sisters? And I remember them sitting there trying to figure out who was in the family tree, trying not to fight about it, and telling me, oh yeah, there was Uncle Mutto, and there was Charlotte, but we don't know her last name. And the last name of the family was Blanshaft. They split up this CK in there. But I was 13, I wrote down the names, and I believe that my grandfather had maybe, there might have been 12 siblings in that family. And I have a piece of paper, actually with me somewhere, that lists those names of his brothers and sisters. He couldn't remember all of them. There might have been one or two stepbrothers, stepsisters. But I put a check mark. He told me which ones made it to America. Now, there were only 5 who made it. We're still kind of searching to try to find out what happened to the others. But I believe at least three of them perished in the Holocaust. I should also thank the other Sam Skolsky. There's another one who's living in California. Now there are 3 Sam Skolskys floating around the family tree, all named after the patriarch in the Skorka side, Shlum Skorka. And Sam Skolsky, who was, a lot of people remember, he was a dentist in Flint, Michigan, who lives in California today. He's the same age as his cousin Sam, who's in New Jersey. And I called him up a couple years ago. And he said to me, I was asking him about the name, Skolsky. Where did the Skolsky name come from? Because I don't know. But I have this bet with my cousin, because we've been arguing about it for 30 years. He thinks it's Skorka. He thinks it was Skorka in Europe, not Skolsky. I think it was Skolsky. Now, on the table up here, there's actually a manifest from 1922 showing when my grandfather came to America. And it shows his name as Shlum Skorka. So I was able, eventually, to tell him that he lost the bet, actually. There are so many other people to thank. I mean, there's people like Karen Manhart. I just discovered her about a year ago. She's the granddaughter of Morris Skolsky, one of my grandmother's brothers. And Karen and I were born the same year, 1968, and we call each other monkey cousins because of the year of the monkey. But it's been wonderful to exchange emails back and forth and find out more about Morris Skolsky's branch of the family. And Annette Ostreicher, who sent us some wonderful photographs the other day of Alex and Ida Blanshaft's family. You know, Alan called me up a couple of weeks ago and he said, you know, we just have all these photos from Bela's branch. We don't have anything, we don't have much from Alex's. We have some of Max's. We have one precious photo of Morris Blanshaft and his wife, Rebecca. But we don't have that much from Alex's. And Annette sent us a whole bunch of wonderful photos. Some of them are up here on the board. Also Seymour Ostreicher. It's very helpful. In fact, a year ago I spent a lot of time trying to find him on the internet. Luckily there was only one or two Seymour Ostreichers in the United States. But I found his name in a SEC filing somewhere on the internet. Finally led back to Connecticut, called up, found out that he moved to another state, and got in touch with him, and he started supplying some of the names from the Alex and Ida Blanshaft branch. And I want to thank Caleb Clark, and his mom Molly, and his aunt Maya Blue. He's from Max Blanshaft's family. You know, when we found them, I was looking on the internet and I typed in the name Blanshaft. Kept typing it in, and luckily it's a very unusual name. There's not that many hits that come up, maybe only 5 or 6. The 5 or 6 hits, one of them was from an essay that Caleb had written about his grandmother Teddy when she was dying about 2 years ago. And through that essay, you know, I saw that essay, I started reading it, I thought, hey, this is the same family. And I sent him an email. I said, I think this is going to come, this might be more of a surprise to you than it is to me, but I think we're related. And I got back this email, yeah, I think we are. I'm going to send this on to my mom. And then next thing I know, a huge part of the family tree started to come along. You know, Caleb's great-grandfather is somebody that I think we all owe so much to. Motto Blanshaft, Max Blanshaft. Over a number of decades, he organized sponsorship for maybe 20 relatives to get out of Warsaw. I don't know when the first one came. Maybe the first one I know of was maybe around 1913. I think it was Max Skolsky and then Alex Skolsky, and my grandfather. A whole bunch of others. And when you look at the ship manifest that we found from Ellis Island, you will see again and again the sponsor name will be Max Blanshaft. It was amazing that, you know, it wasn't that he did a good deed just once. You know, he just kept doing it. And you know, I can think about helping out, you know, maybe my children or my immediate family, but for him to help out his nephews, nieces, and all kinds of extended family like he did, is just amazing. And I spoke to Sam Skolsky in New Jersey the other day, and he said to me, you know, there was one of Bela Blanshaft's children, grandchildren, who was a famous actor on the Yiddish stage in Warsaw. And we tried very hard to get him out before the war, and we couldn't. He died in the Holocaust. He said that Sam remembered going down to Hayas, the Hebrew immigrant society here in New York, with Max Blanshaft, trying to find what happened to this relative in the family. So Max Blanshaft holds a very special place in my heart. We named our son, his nickname is Tio, which means to travel. But his middle name is Max. how this got going. You know, Alan was visiting Marilyn and Ed Skolsky in London, in Michigan, about 5-6 years ago. And Marilyn said to me, "Hey, do you remember those notes you took when you were 13? Alan's really working on this family tree, and he'd like to see them." So I went home and I found them, and I sent him an email and said, "Okay, these are the brothers and sisters. These are the people that I know." And about that time, Pam Skolsky, sitting over there, had been working on a family tree project, and she had asked, asked her father, Arnold, who got in touch with Eddie Skolsky. Now, there had been many, many years these two particular branches of the family hadn't talked to each other. And Arnold got in touch with Eddie, and next thing you know, Eddie passed a letter on to Alan, which led to Alan getting in touch with Sam Skolsky out in California. Some emails went back and forth. I called Sam Skolsky. He told me about the bet with his cousin. I called his cousin, and his cousin said, "Well, why don't you come see me?" So I went to see him, and then he started showing me photographs and telling me some wonderful stories about Max Blanshaft and the rest of the Blanshaft family. And then as time went on, you know, at one point I typed into the internet Blanshaft, and I found the name Stacy Blanshaft. I left her a message, probably caused a couple heart attacks in the process. But it led to her sister April getting in touch with me, which just opened a whole other branch of the family. I spent a lot of time trying to find Morris Skolsky's family, and finally found Robin Binder, who's Morris's granddaughter. Called her up one day, and I think, you know, I know that her cousin David, sitting over here, said it's a sham. Actually, several people in the family, I think April's dad also, there was a lot of concern in April's family that this was a sham, and I think he told me yesterday, he said, if he asks for $50,000, okay, stop. If he doesn't ask for $50,000, okay, should be all right. I mean, I don't know how many cold calls I've made. I found it's much easier when I actually have an introduction. Otherwise, I have to talk very, very fast when I get on the phone and explain who I am and why I'm calling. I also went to visit Fanny Stopnik about a year ago. I called her from Thailand, and her husband turned to Fanny and said, "Guy in the phone from Thailand, New Jersey." Thailand, New Jersey. And, you know, she was so gracious to open up her apartment to me about a year ago. I went and spent an hour with her and showed her a bunch of photographs, and she could remember people and helped to identify some more people. And I found out that her daughter Nancy actually is very involved in preserving Jewish heritage in Poland. And we found out that the archivist who had spent a whole day with me in Warsaw was somebody that Nancy knew quite well. So it's been altogether an amazing journey. Just wanted to share with you a little bit more about how it came into being. Just one thought to leave you with. You know, before this all started, sometimes I felt quite lonely in life. I know that my parents felt somewhat cut off from their family when they moved to Connecticut from Michigan. And I didn't really know my grandparents that well, but you know, nowadays I walk down the street sometimes and I feel like I've got 100 souls behind me. This incredible family tree, just walking along. And I think a lot of people who passed on would really love to be here today, maybe they are, but I'm sure that they would be smiling to see the family come together like this.
As my name suggests, I'm a Yankee Jew. Now, my Yankee WASP side is pretty simple genealogy, well researched, and they haven't moved much out of New England since they stepped off the Mayflower, literally. But the Jewish side, now that's a different story. It's actually a set of stories. You've heard the one about how Brad and I connected through the internet. This was my first exposure to the obsessive gene we have in our family. And I'd like to thank the family for that, and Brad and Alan have been using it to such good ends. Compared to the work that they've done, I've done little, but I did happen to record my grandmother, Sophie Blanshaft, in her late 80s. And I have some quotes here and stories I'm going to read, which are actually her words. I would also like to encourage anyone else to record stories of people living. The racier, the better. The bad, the good, the ugly. Stories are very important for people, and we learn through stories and have for a long time as a species, passing oral history. So I'll start here. Max's wife, Lena, named her daughter Sophie after her mother, who was still living in Latvia, Russia. This went against all Jewish tradition, which says that you shouldn't name anybody after somebody who is still living because it's a curse. She called herself Teddy most of her life, and this is a quote. But my mother loved her mother so much, and she never got to come to America, so we did it anyway. And of course, Lena was always a free thinker, which is something you'll run into, I think, in this family, across the board. Teddy died in 1999, and I know she would have loved to be here, so I'm going to talk a little more about her. At 16, she worked in the New York Public Library as a page, but quit because, quote, the librarians would make me make them tea, and then they wouldn't let me sit at the table with them. She was also a Powers model in New York City in the 1920s, and worked at Macy's, where she also quit because she said the customers had such bad body odor who were trying on the dresses. So not surprisingly, she ended up with her own business, being, I guess, fairly hard to employ. And for people around Connecticut, you may have known her store, which from 1953 to 1977 was in West Hartford, called the China Closet. She ran with 3 of her friends. She's a small businesswoman. And when she retired, she actually kept lying about her age so she could work in retail part-time until she was 79. And I can say when she stopped working, she basically started dying. And I think, for me, it was always because I think as an immigrant, she didn't know how not to work. She didn't have hobbies or... So I have a block of quotes, actually. It's going to talk a little bit about her husband, who is coincidentally a Gordon, of no relation. There's even a Molly Gordon. My mother's name is Molly, and it was changed. But anyway, as you can tell, it gets very confusing with the family here. This is Teddy's quote all the way through, and I'll say what it isn't. When I met Ernie, her husband-to-be, his mother averted her head when she first met me and said to me, I don't know why my son brought you home, because Connecticut people who do that are going to be married. What she didn't know is that we were going to be married. When Ernie's father drove me home, on the drive home he said, okay, you've impressed mother enough. You can take out your lipstick and cigarettes. I know what you New York girls are like. My parents didn't know we were going to elope, but we did. We were married in the YMCA in Greenwich, Connecticut. And right after I got married, I wanted to copy all my mother's recipes. I had to because she would never let anybody into the kitchen. So when I was trying to find out what amounts to use, shit, which means poor in Yiddish. And they never measured everything, so I had to learn from experience. That's the end of the quote. Teddy's parents, Lena Gitlitz and Max Blanshaft, met in Russia in the early 1900s. They were both in the Socialist Party and part of an underground group that helped overthrow Tsar Nicholas II in Russia. Now, Max arrived on Christmas Day, 1905, in Ellis Island alone, while his wife was in prison. And Teddy said, quote, your great-grandpa came over for the gold in the streets of America. On the steerage over, he was, of course, riding on the bottom of the boat. They gave him only 1 banana. Of course, he had never had a banana, so he didn't know how to eat it and bit right through the peel, and everybody laughed at him. When Grandpa got to America, all he and his friends wanted to do was learn. They loved to learn. They all went to the New School of Social Research, and all his life he voted for Eugene Debs of the Socialist Party for president. Lena, his wife, was arrested in Russia when they were publishing an underground newspaper and put in jail where she, quote, had her head shaved and learned to smoke. Lena, while being transferred to Siberia, was, and this gets confusing, she escaped from jail, and Teddy said the party helped her escape. Now, I've heard several stories about this escape of Max Blanshaft's wife. One was that she bit the inside of her mouth so that her mouth filled with blood, which was a sign of tuberculosis. And then in the train transfer, she spit up blood and the guards wouldn't touch her so she could run. And one I heard while I was here is that she tried to seduce a train guard. And while she was changing to something more comfortable, jumped out of the window. So you never know. But either way, when she got to America, she was smoking and she had her head shaved from prison. And she was, I guess, embarrassed about that. And smoking was also not something that happened a lot. My grandmother Teddy said, my mother Lynn used to walk around with a dictionary under one arm and a novel under the other. They all loved to learn, and she would hold up the dictionary and say, this I learned from, and then the novel and say, this I read. When I asked Teddy what her mother's occupation was, she said, revolutionary, seamstress, homemaker. My father told me Max gave him career advice he always remembered. Max said he always looked for a job, especially when he had one, and that he often did interviews on lunch breaks. If he found a good job at lunch and he didn't like his boss, he wouldn't even return for the rest of the day. If he liked his boss, he'd give notes. Eventually, of course, this too led to being a small businessman, which I believe the factory is in some stories. I personally called Max Funny Grandpa because at age 12, I used to see him at 90 years old. Every morning he would stretch like this. It was very funny. And actually, for the people in Connecticut and the Sound, one time in his late 80s, Max tried to swim across the channel because he had glaucoma. And luckily, a lifeguard saw him. He was swimming very slowly out to sea. Luckily, a lifeguard saw him, sort of went out there and turned him around and started swimming back. Right before he moved to West Hartford in his 70s, he was actually mugged twice in New York City. And people would say, oh, that was terrible because he got knocked down a couple times. And he was quoted literally to have said, it's a small price to pay for living in America. This is the last quote by Teddy. The first time I ever saw Max cry was when his glaucoma got to the point when he couldn't read the New York Times. Ernie and Molly found him the books on tape, and they saved his life. He's been very patient, so I'd like to close with a quote from my mother, Molly. At Max's funeral service, almost all the people there were descendants of relatives that he had brought over from the old country. Grandpa was my hero all my life. When I lived on a commune in California, I wrote him a long letter trying to explain this new lifestyle that I had adopted. I felt that we were doing something revolutionary and that he was the only one in my family who would understand. Thank you.
What?
Yeah, but she has film in her camera, I don't.
What? This is just a video.
No, now you gotta take a picture of her video.
He has enough pictures of me.
No, I don't.
I'm a zombie. I'm a zombie.
Are you tired?
I went to school.
send photos or let us know of any other stories. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of family that we didn't have a chance to put stuff in. And I know everybody's really busy. We've got an incredibly talented group of people here, and it's hard for people to make time sometimes. But if we'll send out something that sets some sort of deadline, and then we'll try to get something together. And then if people are interested in buying the book, it'll be like $30 or $40 hopefully. One thing is when you do give a story, if you can just let us know that it's okay to include it in the book, just so that we have your permission to put that in. Okay, and we have, Alan went out and made some really beautiful t-shirts to celebrate today's gathering. There's no charge for those t-shirts, and I think they're out. They're right here, so. So we'll get those passed out. Okay, I'd like Charlotte Owen to come up and just say a couple words, because Charlotte's mother, Sarah, was at the center of the family to a large extent. And sometimes I think about the family as being this beautiful pane of glass that was broken and fragmented, and slowly we're putting it back together. And her mom definitely knew a lot of people and made quite a lot of effort to bring the family together. So Charlotte's been wonderful in terms of sharing her memories with me.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Oak, I guess. I haven't been Charlotte Oak for a long time. This is totally unrehearsed. It will be totally unexpurgated. You can take any part of it you want to. About, I guess, 2 or 2.5 years ago, I got a call late at night, and a young man told me he might be my cousin. It turned out to be Brad Gordon. Brad has, since then, been picking my brains clean. I've come up with more things than I could have ever imagined. And I would guess that 90% of you have touched my life in some way. I remember nicknames and parents and grandparents and all kinds of things, because in the center of my life was my mother, who I was very close to, who was the one sister who came to the United States, who was Bella, the daughter, along with 4 of her brothers who were here. My mother was forever knitting and crocheting them together because they were always arguing and falling apart. She was very family-oriented, but I think that probably my grandmother is the most important person that Brad and Alan, who has also been very instrumental in pulling things from me, are interested in. My mother brought my grandmother to the United States, and my grandmother shared my room. She lived with us all of the years. She was a tremendous enigma to me. She was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman who was, quote, deaf and dumb. They did not use the word deaf mute when I was a young child. My grandmother was injured when she was very, very young and was never able to hear or speak. She was a remarkable woman. Some of the things about her that I didn't realize till a few years ago, and forgive me, I'm sorry, is that she went to shul every Friday night. My grandmother couldn't speak or hear or read. I couldn't figure out why she was going to shul. She also wore a shade, which is a pretty religious thing to do. Through Brad and Alan, I learned that my grandfather was a rabbi. I never knew that. Or at least one of her husbands. I don't know whether it was my grandfather or not. Was it my grandfather? Was a rabbi. She had, I think, 12 children, but 10 of those survived. My mother told horror stories of what it was like living in Warsaw and being persecuted, and how hard it was on her and her siblings and my grandmother. She was a remarkable woman. My mother was a remarkable woman who went back back and forth to Europe a number of times and brought her two younger brothers with her, Sam and Morris. Then went back and got my grandmother and subsequently my father. She lived a very, very hard life. She was pretty much in charge of the household since my grandmother was somewhat handicapped and had so many children. She had scars on her face from the bread lines and the persecution of the Nazis. She was a very vibrant woman with a tremendous sense of humor. And to the very, very end, she was remarkable in the way she handled her illness, and she was always sick in the years that I knew her. Being here today was very, very special to me because many of the nicknames and names and children and grandchildren of the people that I was brought up with are here. And I was able to furnish Brad and Alan with names that I don't know where they came from. They came from someplace deep inside of me. And I know some of you better than you remember me because I was the older cousin. So I might have been 14 and you 6 or 7 or 4 or 10. And I'm sort of skipping generations in my thinking. I get kind of mixed up with who's in which generation, but it's great to be here. And one last thing I will say, I was asked to mention something about it. Uncle Muddle, Uncle Max Blanshaft, was actually my mother's uncle. He was my great uncle. And they were very, very important people to my mother and the rest of the family. They were remarkable. Tante Leia and Uncle Muddle were remarkable people. I'll let their children or grandchildren tell you stories about them. I don't need to, but I can say that we were very close. She was a little harder to be close with, but we got extremely close, and they both moved to Queens to live about 4 blocks away from me. And we lived near each other. We were extremely close for many, many years. And he was very much at the center of bringing people over here and sponsoring people and helping them get started. And I thank Alan and Brad for bringing me family that I never knew I had, because when Brad first met with me, I insisted I have no family. I mean, there might be 1 or 2 cousins that I have no cousins. And I've gotten some first cousins back due to their efforts, and I very, very, very much appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
As Cheryl had mentioned, that her mother, living in Poland, things were very, very tough. And Uncle Muddle, Max Blanshaft, had sponsored Sarah, my grandfather, and Morris to come over to the United States. And we have a postcard that we got from Molly Dana. I got like a date in my head, but I couldn't think of Molly. It was from Molly. There's a postcard that Sarah had sent to Uncle Muddle just about a year before she came to the United States. And it was May of 1921. And they came to the United States in November of 1922. And on the card, Sarah had written, poor life, always getting worn out, always living without strength, too young and fresh to die, 7 days of dried bread. Sarah. So that can give you kind of an idea of what it was like before they came over. The life that they were able to come to in the United States. And there was a second card, and we only were able to translate just a little bit of it. And it said, will it be good already for me there? And will I find fortune there? That's all we were able to translate of that postcard. But it kind of gives you an idea of what it would be like.
Every time I look out at the audience here, I think of something I forgot to say. One was Stephen Blanshaft, sitting over at this table here. think the only one in our generation, in terms of males with the last name Blanshaft, which makes him a very special person to be here today. I think I'm just going to have Karen Manhart just come up and say a word about photographs and just wrap things up. If a minute or two to say anything. Robin Binder is Morris Kolsky's granddaughter.
I just want to, I think that we all need to give toast to Alan and Brad because they gave us the most special gift that any of us have ever asked for. They can't hear. Sorry, can you hear me? I said that, first of all, my parents are deceased, and I always thought that I had such little family. And I just wanted to think that we need to do a toast and a special thank you to Alan and Brad because they gave us the most special gift that anybody could ever give us, and that's each other. And I just think that is the most special thing. So from my heart, I want to thank them for giving us each other and being a big part of our lives now. Thank you.
Who I am, and I can share it with my kids now, and they have a heritage. I mean, look at that chart. I'm looking at that chart, and I go, wow, I'm somebody. I have a place, you know, and I gotta thank you guys. Thanks isn't enough, you know, but thank you.
They were able to figure out it was about July 10th. Mother. And there's my grandmother, Ben Coleman. And the other two graves were, I don't know who, people that Sam felt sorry. See one of the things that bothers me about things that I come up with? See, I would never have it flat with the ground. I would have.
Yeah, right. That's right. I like
Sam,
that.
Sam didn't like it raised, so we didn't do it. It's a double flat. This is the room with the same level on the air, so that it will always be taken care of.
What about?
Come visit me.
What about the? What are you guys gonna?
Then when we found out after, it's very expensive. It's a minimum of $10,000 to start with a person. And to look at all these rooms that are dedicated to you see fancy rooms. It's like the Blanshaft compare, but nothing else. I'm sorry, automatically I cry at certain things.
Like I don't ever do that.
I don't know, but I know I.
He arrived in America December 25th, 1905.
She could have lived a lot longer.
So, were you amazed that somebody was doing the family tree when you found out?
Amazed. This is all Hattie.
This is all Hattie.
Hattie. And that's her husband. I forgot his name. Yeah.
And this is
Hattie and her husband.
And this was her. So this is Hattie and her two daughters?
Yes.
What are the daughters' names?
Verna and Elaine.
See the cigarette smoke.
Yeah, and those two are right up.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, darling. Simple went to Baltimore to babysit.
Now she told me, do you remember
I
someone
remember
named
the name Rivka.
Tulusty? What about Tulusty?
I remember Tulusty,
And she said it was a cousin.
who married the mayor of
Married the
Newark.
mayor of New Jersey, of New York.
Yeah, of Newark, yeah.
Who would that be? Do you
got
remember?
me. Okay, I'm gonna go to the back room. I see a cat, Minnie. You want to see a ham?
Yes.
I'll show you a ham. Minnie is a star. Minnie is a camera. She does commercials too.
Does she?
Minnie, smile. Show your teeth. Minnie, smile. Smile, Minnie.
Are you smiling, Minnie?
Are you smiling?
Hey, she's been in commercials with you?
Yeah.
You know, I think I remember that. I've seen some of
Yeah.
your commercials, I think.
Say hi to the camera.
Hi, Minnie.
Hi, camera. Sweet.
You don't love her, do you?
Oh, God. Mad about this Man. I saw Hattie just before I moved my mother up to
Really?
New York. That was 4 years
Wow.
ago. November will be 4 years that she's
Okay.
here.
Ask her about Ben Jebby. Ben
Prize fighter.
Jebby, the prize fighter.
I don't know anything about him. Do you know someone in your family that was a prize fighter? Ben Jebby? No, I don't either. That's
Okay.
really, that's okay.
Okay,
News
so
to me.
that makes me think that they're on the other side of the family, and that would explain that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
Do you remember any Tanta who stay in Warsaw who didn't come to America? Do you think?
Ma, do you have family that stayed in Warsaw or that was in the concentration camps during the war? In the Holocaust? No. No, she wouldn't know that. She was born here.
But she's thinking.
She's thinking.
What was the family name in Warsaw? Blanshaft. What did she know? Maybe ask her how to pronounce the name
Blanshaft.
before. Is it Blanshaft? Because I can't find.
Blanschaft.
There's Brandshaft, which is
Yeah,
BR.
but that was way before. No,
Yeah, way before.
She only knows as Blanshaft.
Does she want more candy? Or she just got?
Where is it?
No, give it to her. You want candy?
She loves M&M's.
Okay, ask her about Fifka. Not Rivka, but Fifka.
Fifka, I never heard of.
Yeah.
Who is Fifka? Do you know Fifka? No. Fifka. Fifka. I know Rivka, but I don't know Fifka.
What was the other name? She's thinking hard right now.
Yeah.
Or she's taking a nap. You never know.
No, she's thinking, I think. She's shaking her head. Yeah, she
It's so funny about Sam Skorsky.
Yeah, right? She didn't like him.
We know it. She remembers well, though. I mean, she's shaking her head.
Okay, so I'm trying
I
to
do
think.
her hair. I come with my scissor.
You cut her hair.
And I cut her hair. 'Cause I
Do you
don't
know,
like-
where did she go to school? Do you know?
I have a picture of your graduation, Mom.
Really?
Yes. With a big bow in your hair. What school was that you graduated from? Where was that? In the Bronx? Do you remember the school? No?
She
What
doesn't
did you-
remember the name.
You were a little girl.
Where did,
I know
ask
her
her
mother lived
where
on
did she live in the Bronx?
Minford Place.
Where did she live in the Bronx? Or not in the Bronx?
In the Bronx.
Well, does she know her?
In the Bronx.
What
Does she-
street did you live on?
Where did you live in the Bronx before you married Al, my father?
She might be napping again.
No, she's chewing.
First things first. Yeah?
Does she speak Hebrew at all?
Jewish.
Does she
When
speak
I speak
Hebrew?
Jewish,
Yiddish, you mean?
Yiddish.
She speaks
comes-
Yiddish?
Yeah.
Really?
Man will wissen a bissel Yiddish from you. Du kannst reden Yiddish, Mama. Red Yiddish. You heard it?
Yeah. I mean, ask her. How about Carl Blanshaft, her grandfather? Does she know anything about him?
Grandfather?
Her grandfather's name was Carl Blanshaft.
No, Alex.
Yeah, Alex's father.
Her father is Alex.
And Alex's father was Carl Blanshaft.
Yeah. No, I don't know if she knows that.
Your grandmother. What is your grandmother's name?
Yeah, grandmother's name?
Do you remember your grandmother and grandfather? His name was Carl, your father's father.
Sophie.
And Sophie?
Mamasha.
Mamasha. They called her Mamasha. No.
But it's funny, she remembered Muddle.
Muddle, I remember Muddle.
She
Muddle
said that
was close to us.
Hmm.
I remember Uncle Muddle.
Who?
Yeah.
You?
Ask her if Muddle...
Nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Did Muddle smuggle guns for Israel? That's one story I heard. Something with smuggling guns.
What did Uncle Muddle do, Ma? He was so nice. Everyone loved him. Did you like Uncle Muddle? Yeah. Did he do something in Europe, like smuggle guns for the army or something like that?
He is very kind. He is very good and he's very kind.
He was. He was.
That's
He was
incredible.
the good one.
Everybody
helped
loved
all-
her, you know?
yeah.
I loved him. Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Ask her why. Why?
Why did everyone love Uncle Muddle? Because he was so good and kind? Yeah.
Did, ask her, did he pay for people to come to America? Who did he pay to come to America?
Did he have a lot of money, Ma? Was he rich? No.
Why
But
not?
he brought a lot of people here from Europe. He paid for them.
She knows all this.
Yeah, so she knows so much.
Remember? Uncle Muddle.
Can you tell us any stories about Muddle?
You're
Trying to think
pushing
what
it.
else. Yeah,
You're
let me
pushing
try to
sentences.
think.
We have one
You're
I know,
pushing
I know,
it.
but she's confirming stuff. Let's see.
That's
Ask her.
good. She's confirming a lot.
Ask her if Muddle was a socialist.
Oh, come on.
No.
I don't even know if she knows what that means. Was Muddle political?
A little.
Yeah. He was.
He loved to help poor people.
You love to help poor people.
See? He remembers.
Did he do something with Workman's Circle?
Did he do something for the poor working people?
No.
The poor working people? Yeah, he helped them, right?
How about Workman's Circle?
Workman's Circle. Have you heard of that? Workman's Circle? Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to
What
scoot
did
up
he
closer
do? What did he do for Workman's Circle?
What did he do, Ma? What did he do for Workman's Circle?
He used to officiate it with
What is?
Wow.
like
Officiate.
the lawyers.
Officiate lawyers. What else?
What else, Ma? What else, Ma? Big word, officiate.
That's a big word.
Tell us the
He
story.
give donations for poor people.
What else?
What
He's
else?
very good natured.
Very good nature.
Tell a story about him.
Do you remember any special story about him? Uncle Muddle? Everybody loved him. He helped everybody. He's a very kind man. And Hattie remembers him.
Ask her about, did she know anything about his escape from Warsaw?
Do you know when he came to this country from Warsaw? Do you remember that when Muddle came here from Warsaw?
Who?
When Uncle Muddle came here from the old country, from Warsaw, do you remember any stories about that? Tell us a story.
Who was his wife?
Who was Muddle's wife? Really?
Lena?
Lena?
Was it Lena? Muddle's wife, Lena? No?
Did Muddle give money for Israel?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
She said it was very generous.
It's great. She does. I mean, she does definitely remember stuff, and
Yeah,
she
she does.
yeah.
She might
Maddie,
not
you're very good
remember.
at asking questions.
She must be tired of me asking questions. She doesn't remember.
But she doesn't. Do you think she's getting upset? She seemed to be okay.
It's okay so far. She'll give me one of these.
Really?
She will. When I do her hair, I put cream on her face. She gets annoyed.
Okay. Ask her, did Uncle Muddle live with her parents? Do you know if they lived together?
So Muddle was her father's brother.
Yeah.
Did he live with them? I don't think so. Did Uncle Muddle live with you? No.
Who did he live with?
Who did he live with, Ma?
His wife.
What was her name?
His wife. He came with his wife.
Okay. No, his wife came in 1907.
Do you remember her name? No? No.
Did she give money to? Ask her. If,
She was very poor.
Ask her who Muddle brought from Europe. Maddie, see if she remembers anyone that Uncle Muddle brought from Europe.
Do you remember who Uncle Muddle brought over here to the United States from Europe? Anyone in the family that he brought over here?
She shook her head. Or sure.
No.
It's incredible that one man could be, that everybody in the family loved him. Isn't it just something?
It's a nice memory.
Yeah.
Now, who were his children there?
His children were there
there
yesterday, yeah.
They were.
Molly.
Who was that very fat lady?
That was Morris, my grandfather's. That's my cousin, Morris Skolsky's granddaughter. It's Sam Skolsky, the one she doesn't like's brother's granddaughter.
Sam Skolsky's brother's
Granddaughter, yeah. I think it's so funny that she remembers Sam Skolsky and she didn't
Ask
like
her
him.
one more time about Sam and see if maybe she doesn't want to talk about that.
Ask her what?
Just ask her, remember Sam Skolsky? Again, the same
You
question.
want to confirm?
Well, we already know, but I just want to see if it'll bring
You
her
could
back to
confirm.
life,
Remember Sam Skolsky, Ma? You didn't like him, right? Sam Skolsky.
Not Sam Skolsky, the dentist.
What'd he do to you? Oh, she finished.
She's like, hey, where's the rest?
Yeah. All right. I have a whole big thing in the first drawer. First drawer.
Ask her, how about Max Skolsky? Did she know him?
Max. Oh yeah, we didn't ask her about Max.
Yeah.
Here, Ma. I got more. I got it.
Did you know Max Skolsky? Max Skolsky? She can come over here.
Maddie. Were the sisters close? Was she close to
Yeah,
her
she
sister?
was very close to Ruthie.
Has Hattie come up to see her?
Yes,
Yeah.
when she was here. The only one, they weren't close with the brother, Carl.
Carl.
But the three sisters were very close.
The other thing I know that there was there were relatives in Cleveland. I don't know who they were. I don't know if she remembers any.
I don't remember.
And they asked her
anyone
if she
in
knew any cousins in Cleveland.
Mom, did you have relatives in Cleveland? Cleveland, Ohio. Do you remember anyone from there? No, I don't
Okay.
either.
How about California?
How about California? Do you have relatives in California? No.
Yes.
Yeah, who? Who lived in California, Mom? You don't know. I remember your mother lived on 1550 Minford Place. Remember Minford Place? She was the superintendent there. She used to take out the garbage. She worked so hard, your mother. And remember Grandpa used to have his zipper open? He used to say, I need luft. I need luft. It needs air. And you used to go to the house and clean the hair out of his ears, I remember. You used to cut the hair out of his ears and out of his nose. I think that's why I became a lady barber. I used to, as a little girl, watch you take your scissor and clean the hair out of his ears. It was always dirty looking.
I heard that zipper story so many times.
Yeah.
Quite a few people remember it.
I need luft. It needs air.
It needs air.
Well, I think you got
probably
as
not.
much information as
No,
you're
but
going to
it's,
get.
I mean, just the fact that she does remember is
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Maybe ask her just one more question. Was there anyone else that she liked in the family? Because she liked Motto.
Did you like Uncle Muddle? Yeah. Anyone else in the family that you really loved besides Uncle Muddle? You don't remember? You remember you had a fight with little Hattie. You never liked little Hattie. You know why? She didn't invite you to someone's birthday party, remember?
Is this
You told me the story.
Hattie Hauser?
Hattie Hauser. Hattie Hauser. She took your sister to a party and she didn't ask you to come, and you had a resentment against her all the years. I remember when I visited you in Florida, you didn't like to go to little Hattie. Because she didn't invite you to a birthday party.
Hello? Hey, Alan. You're not going to believe this, but I'm sitting here with Pauline, who's 99 years old. 99? And
Eating M&Ms.
And she doesn't like Grandpa. She doesn't like Grandpa. She remembers Grandpa. Yeah, she doesn't like him. Now, remember the story we heard from Sam Skolsky?
Not Sam Skolsky, the dentist.
About the cousin that Grandpa...
The pictures were just fantastic.
She is.
And the fact that she's here to remember.
Yep. Yep. And we found another set of cousins. Yeah, I gotta look at the name again. I think it's what's the name?
Slutsky?
Talusky.
From Newark, right.
Well, Talusky, who married the mayor of New Jersey.
Did
Yeah.
she say it was Sophie Telesky?
Yes, she said so.
Sophie Telesky.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay, great. Where are you right now?
Who's he talking to? He's talking to Ellen.
Oh, okay. You going home? I'm with Maddie right now. Yeah, I will. Yeah, Karen's with me. You want to talk to her for a sec?
No.
Hello? Do you want to talk to Karen? Okay. He's going home.
That's okay. Show me her nightgown again, Maddie.
This is what I gave my mother to wear because it's short on me.
Does she like it?
Looks so cute in it.
That's Grandma's nightgown.
This is the front. So she's the sexiest old broad in the nursing home. It's just a comfortable thing to wear.
Yeah, that's so
And
cute.
It's funny.